First thing, congratulations on the role, man. I remember when I saw the news, I'm like, who better to play this character than a professional wrestler? And you.
I'm not sure a lot of people would have necessarily like called it or predicted it, but then once the news was out, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. That can make some sense. And man, it was just so much fun. Once I got the audition and I saw the sides. I read it with my wife, and afterwards she was just like, "You had way too much fun with that." And I was like, "Well, that's it. I mean, it's such a fun character. Just in the writing alone, I was like, man, there's so much fun to be had with this," which I thought was great because you hear God of War and okay, part-time actor, part-time wrestlers portraying this. So what's it going to be? I wanted to be more than just the big angry guy, because that's one note and there's one layer to that. So in seeing the writing and realizing there's so much fun in there too, that for me was that was fun to tackle.
I was telling some friends of mine when I was telling them you were going to play this role, and I'm like, who better to do this than a professional wrestler? I mean, you guys live in this kind of zone with being alive, ad-libbing, playing these over-the-top characters. Who better to play this character than you?
Wrestling's great training for so many things.
Absolutely.
In the acting world that I didn't fully comprehend or grasp until I started acting more often. And I realized how much it prepared me and how much it was training in a way, because, with wrestling, you're out there with a live microphone. Yep. and you're live without a net. And you're getting this instant gratification. You're having to think on your feet and do all of these things. Well, you think on your feet as an actor too, but you can come in with some ideas and some choices and see if they work. And if they don't, well, they don't. But you have another take.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the ad-libbing that you can pull from wrestling really helps, because even within the scene, I was just trying, different scenes, especially the scene with Ari and with Grover in the diner.
Oh yeah.
That I was like, I want to try some different things here and just see how it works out.
That is absolutely my favorite scene in that fifth episode, is you in the diner with the three kids, and especially when the two leave and you're there with Grover. Can you talk about working with those three young actors and you guys just clicked in that scene?
Yeah, I mean, they're great. They're great human beings, and as everyone can now tell, really, really talented. It was kind of blowing my mind, because we'd do a scene and then on turnarounds or anything like that, they'd go to school. And then they'd come back and do a scene and then go to school. And you watch the show back throughout the entire season, and it's just some of the stuff they're pulling off. It's like, how at that age, where do you pull that from? Where are you getting that from? Like, what have you experienced that causes you to be able to have that look in your eye and have that old soul? And I think it speaks to just some people are meant to do it. And it was really fun to work with them. It was very invigorating because, they're full of energy. Right. And I'd be coming from a wrestling gig, flying all night, get there, come in. So it was really fun. And, and I've said this before, more than anything, I could just tell how well raised they are. They're just good people. And, in a project of this size and all of the things that come with that, they've just been able to keep their heads, and I think that speaks a lot to them as their character. But man, the whole thing was just fun. The whole project, top to bottom, was just a blast.
What I love about the writing for this character, your character, and your portrayal is, you think of a god, you think of a badass, that's it. But your character has layers. There's sarcasm. There, you know what I mean? And like the scene when they come to the diner, he's sitting there on Twitter being a Twitter troll. I'd laugh for like 5 minutes. I had to stop the show. I had to stop the episode. There's so many layers to this character that has to be fun for you to play.
Oh, without a doubt. I love the fact that this God of War, this omnipotent, being, is so flawed, is so wrought with human emotion in terms of like jealousies and pettiness and all of these things that you encounter in families, of a big size usually. Like I always think about my mom and her brothers and sisters, and how like these two wouldn't be getting along and those two wouldn't be getting along, because within 9 kids you get that a lot. And I love the fact that like Aries doesn't seem to get along with anybody. And it's just because he's so petty, and just he's just yeah. But that's so much fun too. And when I was reading it for the very first time, like I said, I just had fun reading it. So I was like, okay, this is a real blast to try and bring to life.
When I was watching that particular scene, and most of the scenes you were doing, I automatically thought back to how you were sarcastic and just an ass sometimes in WWE in the background segments, and with you and Christian with the 5 second poses. That's what I automatically thought of, and I was like, he's perfect for this.
Yeah, it was a really, really fun one, just because also the in terms of the physicality, and when you get to the final battle scene and all of those things, well, that's my wheelhouse. So it was just fun. You get to play a modern God of War who's a biker, wears a duster, rides a Harley, and just treats these the main characters who are kids like dirt. I mean, he's just not a nice guy, but somewhere deep down in there, it feels like maybe
just a little bit,
he's kind of likable too. And again, just so much fun. But it also speaks to the writing. The writing on this show is just so good.
You mentioned earlier the conversation with Grover, and I'm watching that scene, and I'm like, this kid is like trying to get some information out of Aries, and I don't know if he really knows that he's giving information up or not, or he's just talking because that's just who he is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think he's the kind of guy that just loves to hear himself speak.
Yeah.
He likes to hear the sound of his own voice. He enjoys telling anyone who will listen. I feel like he's that guy, and we all know that guy, and we've all encountered that guy. So but it's also, man, I wouldn't want to be that guy, but it's fun to play that guy.
When Percy and Annabeth went to get to his shield, do you think deep down he thought they were actually going to be able to accomplish that task?
I don't think so. I really don't think so.
I remember your face when they walked in with the shield and she put it on the table, and you had this look on your face. I'm like, oh, I don't think you thought they were going to make it.
Yeah. And but I also think somewhere in there was some hard-won respect, like, oh, look at that. Hence giving them the bag and not putting them in the nicest accommodations to get to Vegas, but still getting them there.
Being a dad yourself, and I thought about this, with my own father, I was like, how would you rate Aries as a father from 1 to 10?
Oh, I think all you got to do is watch Clarice to understand what kind of father he is. Who also, by the way, it's so cool to see her performance and go, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that apple didn't fall far. And just super fun. I don't think he's a great dad at all. I at 1 to 10, I'd maybe give him a 1.5, just because of that a little kernel buried way in there that he might have some redeeming quality, or maybe one redeeming quality. Yeah, but speaking to like fatherhood, that's been my biggest joy out of doing this, honestly, has been sitting with my entire family.
I bet you, yeah.
Girls, and it's become destination viewing for us. Like we make sure Tuesday nights we sit down at 9 and we all enjoy it together as a family. And I can truly say, even if I wasn't in the show, we would still be doing it, because we really just love the show. And that makes me super proud, just to be a small cog, a small little part of this thing. And also just in people I've encountered since I've been traveling the last few weeks, and I've been having a lot of dads coming up to me saying, I'm bonding with my kids and we're watching this thing together. It's become a thing for us, a nice little bonding moment. And that's amazing. If you can
I'm
get
watching it with my nephews. Yeah, I'm watching it with my nephews.
that's so cool to hear. Like, that's amazing because I remember sitting down and watching TV with my mom growing up, and that was one of our things, right? And now with the way things are set up with streaming and so many different platforms and outlets to get your viewing, it feels like that happens less and less. And this almost feels like a throwback in that regard, where all I keep hearing is that families are sitting down to watch this together. And as a performer, to be a part of something like that, that's awesome.
I have to ask you, one of my final questions for you is, how much did you know about this universe? Because I'm not going to lie, I knew nothing about Percy Jackson. I learned from my nephews,
Yeah.
and I've been doing like research before I, chatted with you. I knew
Yeah.
nothing about it, and it's huge.
Yeah. So I read for the part. Obviously, I'd heard of Percy Jackson, and I knew there was a couple of movies, and anytime we'd go in the children's section at Barnes and Noble or any bookstore, because we're readers and so are the girls, I'd see Percy Jackson all the time, but I didn't fully grasp the reach of what that world is. And I'm kind of glad I didn't until after I read for it, because I think I put a lot less pressure on myself that way. So when I got the role, I was like, right, now I'm diving in. And then I went and I did my due diligence. I did my studying and realized, over 180 million copies sold. Like, it's a lot of books. And devoured the books. The girls already knew that world, so they were kind of filling me in. They were already on board and fans, but they have their Camp Half Blood T-shirts and all of those things. So they were extremely excited when I got this. But yeah, then I went in and I just devoured the books, and I see why. I
Yeah,
see why. I
yeah.
see why they landed the way they did, because they're just so well written, and they're so relatable.
And you
They
learn
just,
about mythology at the same time.
yeah, it's just fun. You get this it's just a really cool story, and even the show, it harkens back to, like, watching the Goonies, and kind of like these adventures that I love stuff like that, and that's, again, that it feels like this is a throwback to that, only with today's technology, to be able to bring, the underworld and Hades to life, and just so cool to watch a three-headed dog. And I mean, it's really, really fun. So I've learned about the world now. I'm well versed in it.
I think, with a show like this, in a time like this, with what's going on in this world today, I think something like this is just great for people to get away and escape. Just escape the drama, at least for an hour or whatever.
That's the idea. That's what entertainment should be. Is just like, I don't want to think about, I don't know, the bully at school, or my shift tomorrow, or I got to get the car fixed, or whatever it is. It's just, for me, when I think back to when I was a kid and I discovered pro wrestling, it was an escape for me. Comic books were an escape. My favorite TV shows were an escape, just a way to smile. And I truly feel like this show, it hits not only just a certain demographic, but it feels like it hits all demographics. Like, if you're a parent watching this, you can enjoy it too. If you were a fan when these books first came out and now you're in your 20s and maybe 30s, you can enjoy this. If you're a child now, and I know this from personal experience, because when I go on the walker line to pick up my girls every day, the kids are just, to Percy, I'm like, yeah, I know, right?
That's so awesome. And
Yeah.
finally, I know you can't say much, but what can fans look forward to with your next appearance in the series? And with the popularity of this character, because I've read Twitter and there's a lot of people that love your character. Do you hope they bring you back in the
I
future?
mean, sure, I'd love to come back. Absolutely. I mean, it was such a fun character. It really was. Like, if I look back in all my roles, he's easily the most fun character I've ever played. And to throw that skin back on, absolutely, in a heartbeat. Just it'd be a blast. Now, when it comes to the finale, it all comes to a head, and what everyone loved about the books, they'll see it on the screen. And again, that was such a fun thing to pull off, to do, a scene like you're going to see with a 13-year-old or maybe 14 at that point. I'm not sure. Uh, it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and Walker was right there with me, just like so in. And I think everybody's going to be pleased. I really do. I know I was pleased when I saw it back, and I thought it did the books justice.